May 15th, which was last Wednesday, that was the anniversary of the Nakba, which was the, of course, forceful displacement of the Palestinian people from their land in 1948. There were a lot of marches to commemorate that event on the day itself, but obviously the weekend after there were going to be marches as well, and there was one in the now largely Arabic and Yemeni neighborhood of Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and the police made sure that did not gain as much momentum as it could have. New York police violently arrest pro-Palestine protesters marking the Nakba. This is from Al Jazeera. Police have beaten and arrested several demonstrators at a pro-Palestine protest in New York's Brooklyn in the latest crackdown on voices speaking against the war on Gaza in the United States. Protesters, gathered on Saturday in the Bay Ridge neighborhood in southwest Brooklyn, home to a large Muslim community, including people of Palestinian and Yemeni origins. The peaceful protest that marked the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in 1948, went on for several hours amid heavy police presence, with officers trying to prevent a march. So this is from Status Quo here. NYPD assaulted pro-Palestinian protesters during a ceasefire protest in Brooklyn, repeatedly beating and punching a man to the point of bloodying his face. Other officers aggressively shoved protesters. So here is an example of what the article talks about. This is John Farina with the video here in Bay Ridge. Look how they just grab him and throw him down. And they start wailing on him. I just want to play this one more time. I just want you to see they're not breaking up a fight. They're not doing anything. The guy's marching. He's holding a sign. Look at this. Go right up. Boom. Grab it. Look at that.
Yep. No. What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What is he doing?
They literally just went in and grabbed him out of the crowd and beat the shit out of him.
Yep. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We have not even scratched the surface here. Yet, here's another tweet from Peter Hambrecht. Okay, NYPD arrests credentialed press. So this is a journalist while covering a protest in Brooklyn. He was also arrested just a few weeks ago covering another protest. So this is a journalist named Josh Pacheco, I believe. I hope I got his name right. I'm 99.9% sure I got that. I should have written it down. But here is the video of a journalist with a press pass, clearly visible, right on their chest there. And here's this encounter. What are you doing, dude? You can see there's the press pass right there.
Dude, I'll let everybody know that. Don't worry. Why are you even arresting me?
Why are you even arresting me?
You about to take those off? Yo, OG, take those off.
Okay, now you say, well, he's a journalist with a press pass, but does that mean he wasn't up to something? Well, Jordan's guy there over at Status Quo had this exact incident filmed from a different angle where you can actually see them do to him what they did to the other protester, which is walk up, grab him out of a line at random, and cuff him. Here's the other angle. You could see this journalist. He's on the left-hand side of the screen right now. So if you look to the left-hand side of the screen, right to the left of the guy with the Yankee hat, the guy with the long hair, there he is walking. He's typing on his phone right now, okay? So just keep your eye to the left-hand side of the frame. He's walking, not doing anything, and there he goes. Grab him right out of the line.
He's pressed.
This other guy's got a camera. They grab him too. Look at this. Just start grabbing people at random. I've never seen anything like this.
Get back. Get inside.
Chill.
And then here, they start wrestling people around on the sidewalk. Look at this. We got more. Let him go. NYPD randomly drag and snatch journalists and pro-Palestinian protesters at ceasefire protests in Brooklyn. So that's what we just saw there. If we go on, this was an example. So this is Josh Pacheco, who was the person we just saw. So that's him or them. I guess it's non-binary. He says it in his thing. I don't want to get accused of the wrong thing here. All right. So let's see this. Okay. So here we go. So let's see the work that this journalist was doing in the field. So here's a tweet from Josh. Okay. An arrest not many saw. A teen was taken from the sidewalk, clearly new and unaware of the crackdown on amplified sound usage for chanting from his megaphone at a Captain Carlson's behest. He was terrified, confused. He kept asking, "What did I do wrong?" "Nothing. You did nothing wrong." So there were restrictions on amplified sound. You weren't allowed to have a megaphone. Now, I've been to enough of these protests to know that 99 out of 100 times when you're doing something you're not supposed to do, and the cop sees a megaphone and you're not supposed to have it, they say, put that down, or maybe they'll take it from you. This is what they do to this kid who had a megaphone, not realizing that was against the rules that day. This is how they react. Look at this.
Whoa.
5 guys. Grab him. They didn't tell me. You hear what he's saying? Let me replay this. Can't have that. Grab him. 5 guys. What did I do? They didn't tell me.
Back up.
And they take him away in cuffs. So there was a kid, didn't know the rules. They get 5 guys on him and handcuff him. He says, they didn't tell me. I didn't know. He was willing to put it away. Like I said, okay, so look, I've been to a lot of protests. I spent a ton of time at Occupy Wall Street. There were skirmishes with the cops, not as many as the media said there were. In the encampment itself, there were almost none. European tourists would walk young children through that Occupy Wall Street encampment, as a leisure activity. Like there was no danger there. It was completely peaceful. There were, on occasion, mentally ill people, homeless people who were directed there because there was free food there. But even they were almost never a problem. I personally spent a lot of time there. I never witnessed a single violent encounter inside the encampment. When we marched, there were, on occasion, cops would try to do crowd control when there was a march, and someone would get up in the cop's face, "Don't tell me where to what," and then it would become a thing. That was it. You didn't have this level of hysteria at even the Occupy Wall Street protest or any anti-war protest. You always get a warning. You got a megaphone, the cop will always say, "Hey, get rid of that." I've never seen at a protest they come at you with 5 guys and cuff you without a warning, and the kid clearly says, "I didn't know I wasn't supposed to have it." Like, this level of crackdown is just obscene, and it is what we expected we would see, because on this issue, no dissent is allowed. Now, back to the article, and then we have one more video to show. Protesters began to march in the street, and shortly after, the NYPD came in from a side street and started grabbing people at random, as we've seen several times already. Katie Smith, a freelance journalist who was at the scene, told Al Jazeera. So here is Al Jazeera's interview with Katie Smith about what she saw.
Tens of thousands of demonstrators gathered in major world cities to express their solidarity with the Palestinians and what's happening in Gaza. They want an end to this war. In New York, police there have arrested several protesters who were holding torches at a march in Brooklyn. Around 200 people were marching in this rally. There have been a series of demonstrations in more than 60 American college and university campuses. So let's bring in Katie Smith. She is a freelance journalist and joins us live via Skype from New York. Could you tell us what happened there today and why these arrests were made?
Hi. So it started out as a peaceful rally. People were gathering to demand not only a ceasefire in Gaza, but a free Palestine. And they gathered in Bay Ridge, which is a predominantly Palestinian and Yemeni American neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Okay, now I just want to pause it here for a second and I actually tweeted out a 10-second portion of this video this morning. Notice how when pro-Palestine activists say that they've been assaulted by cops, the news organization covering it always has B-roll to cut to support what they're saying because they're actually telling the truth. Whereas when the Zionists claim that they feel unsafe on college campuses because they're being harassed and assaulted or threatened, notice Dana Bash doesn't have any B-roll to cut to in the middle of her thing, right? That actually shows some supporting evidence to corroborate what she's saying.
Yeah, no, they're running around stabbing them in the eyes. And
Yeah. They say all this shit. They never show it. Here, notice they have the B-roll. They have the receipts ready to go.
And they began to rally for around 2 hours. During that time, the police presence was already heavy while the rally was stationary and peaceful. And a resident of a nearby apartment building put a speaker inside his apartment, opened the window so that protesters could use it. One of the tactics that NYPD has been using in recent months has been to crack down on sound amplified devices, things like speakers and megaphones, and to make arrests for that. And protesters were not allowed to use the speaker. So a resident put it in his window, and police ended up scaling the apartment building. 2 officers. They remained.
So this guy has a speaker in the window. Now, just so everybody knows how I did this video piece, Katie Smith, she has watermarked, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner. She tweeted this out. So I superimposed this onto the existing video. Al Jazeera did not broadcast this, but this is what she is talking about here. So a guy puts a speaker in his window, and the cops scale the fire escape.
His window,
and spend an
police
hour
ended up scaling the apartment building. 2 officers. They remained up there for around an hour and a half, this private building. As far as I know, they didn't get any permission to go up there. And after that, protesters began to march in the street. And shortly after protesters got into the street, NYPD came in from a side street and started grabbing people at random. They were tackled to the ground. As they were on the ground and being placed under arrest, often by multiple officers, officers were beating them, punching them in their upper body, around their head. And there were multiple waves of arrest throughout the march. And the march itself remained very peaceful. A lot of community support for the march. But the police repression was extremely high. One protester was even taken away with a bloody face. So it was an extremely brutal response by NYPD to what was a very peaceful protest.
And tell me, does it clear what happened to those who have been arrested? Has anyone been in touch with them? Has contact been allowed?
No contact has been allowed. They are being taken to police headquarters, which is in Manhattan. And there is a group of protesters that are going there to provide jail support for the people that have been arrested, and to also reach out to organizers if a family member or friend was arrested, and they will try and contact them as soon as they are released. But they're not allowed to have any contact until they are released.
Tell me more about the location, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. It seems.
Okay, that's all we have there. That's the end of that video. But there is the police response to a peaceful gathering turned into a peaceful march. You saw multiple examples. People just dragged out of the line, beaten up, thrown to the ground, handcuffed. A kid not knowing the rules. They sick 5 of these cops on him, drag him away. This is what you're up against here. You know, if you showed a protest crackdown like that in a communist country, you would say this is why we love our country. This is why we love America. Right? Because in America, you have the right to protest, whereas in country X, Y, or Z, that we would show as an example of that kind of police crackdown on a peaceful demonstration, we would say, well, that doesn't happen here because we have a First Amendment. Apparently it does.
We value our freedom. Okay, so as the resident New York cop expert, because of the number of times I've been arrested, let me tell you what's going on here. Okay, so New York cops, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Whatever rights you think you have, you don't have those rights. Maybe you'll have those rights when you get in front of a judge.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you don't have those rights in the process of arrest.
In the moment. Right.
No. The first time I got arrested, I was 16. I broke it. I was guilty. I broke into a corporation building.
To steal a typewriter to write a play.
Yes, that's a true story. The last typewriter was the IBM electric typewriter with the ball, so you could get different languages and fonts. It was very steampunk, very analog, right? It was the last typewriter anyone wanted before they invented word processors. So that was like the shit. I saw it in the window, so I broke in.
Had to have
it. Like an idiot. Oh no, they don't have any fucking alarms in this corporation building. So anyway, so I get arrested, man. I was 16. I was a kid. They grabbed me, man. They smashed my head against the hood. They didn't read me any Miranda warnings. They fucking put the cuffs on 3 sizes too tight. They put me in the cell with the cuffs still on to break my balls for like 2 hours to cut off my circulation. So that was the first time I took a pinch. And it taught me from that day to this, cops can do whatever the fuck they want. That shit that you see on Law and Order with the Miranda warning, they don't do that. Fuck. I'd been in custody for 3 hours before they read me a Miranda warning. I was in the cell by the time they read me a Miranda warning. Cops can do whatever they want. When me and Jose went and did that Rachel Maddow intervention, I was worried about getting arrested because Jose's talking about the rights that you have, but I don't know. I don't think he was a delinquent coming up, so I don't think he had as much encounters with the cops as I had. My attitude was if they want to arrest you, they're going to arrest you. Like yeah, you might have those rights in front of a judge. A judge might care more about those niceties. But if a cop wants to put you through the system just to break your balls, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to face any fucking disciplinary action. And if they decide to fucking throw you a beating, they're going to say you resisted arrest. Right. And there's going to be no consequences for them, I promise you. Now, when me and Jose did that with Maddow, and that was about a week after the first protest in Times Square that I also covered, at that time, the cops were being very accommodating. Especially, look, you're not like a street punk. You're like a protester. And as much as you might see that as the underdog in the underclass, and it is in a certain respect, or you're speaking out for that, that has a certain status. That has a certain cachet. They don't perceive you as like a punk, right? So you're being extended those niceties when they're not under pressure to perform, right? When they're not getting that pressure. Right. Now, cops, I've seen it again and again over my life. You can tell when the sergeant told them who to roust, who to break balls on. They get those orders. It's illegal, but they do. Believe me, they do. It came down from on high that they are to make these protesters not want to come out there again. Yes. Don't worry about who gets hurt. Journalists, fuck journalists. They didn't just decide to do this. Their sergeant told them, and the sergeant told them, this goes up to Adams. They would not go out in front of cameras and do this if they had not been told from on high it was okay. I agree. It is okay, because who's gonna do anything about it? You're talking about lawsuits. You're gonna have to sue, and that's gonna take years. Yep. But right now, they are trying to make people not want to protest. I am pretty damn sure if me and Jose, which, we could in the future, do something like the Maddow thing, we're going to get arrested. We weren't arrested that night, but I think they'll arrest us now. Those rules are out the window now.
Yes, because they're trying to create a chilling effect in a lot of major cities, but especially New York, which has been such a hotbed of protest activity. I mean, there have been campus protests throughout the country, but obviously Columbia was the highest profile example of that. NYU got quite a bit of news as well. And every week, multiple times a week, you have protest activity on the Manhattan Bridge. I still get the Notify NYC effects on my phone, even though I haven't lived in the city for 7 years. You have a lot of this stuff, as you should, but they do want to discourage people from taking part. And picking people out of a crowd at random is a good way to intimidate people against showing up.
Right.
especially
Even
when you do
press.
it to journalists, but press,
Right.
because now you're suppressing their First Amendment rights to A, practice their job, and B, get the word out
Right.
to everyone else about what is
I
going
have a
on
press
there.
pass. Now, when
Right.
I go cover it, I did assume that when I go with my press pass, I'm not going to get arrested. Now I don't know. I could.
No.
I could.
And I'm so glad that John got that angle of the journalist just
Yeah.
crossing the street,
Yep.
and they pick
Yep.
him right out. They
Yep.
pick him right out. They go right up to people who are doing nothing
they got
at
the
all.
order. They got
Exactly.
the order.
Yep. It was just random.
Remember, Adams is a cop.
He's
Adams
a cop.
is a
Yes.
former Republican who became a
Yes.
Democrat to make it
He's
to
a fascist.
smooth his political path. He did his 20 in the force.
He's a fascist. Eric Adams is a fascist. Eric Adams is not even. That's what we said when New York voted for Eric Adams. I said, Eric Adams, this isn't even about like shit liberty. He's not even a liberal. He's a fascist. He's a right-wing authoritarian fascist. That's who Eric Adams is. Biggest asshole in a city famous around the world for its assholes. They elect the biggest asshole in that city, the mayor. That's what I said at the time.
I will give him this. He is one funny motherfucker. That 9/11.
Yeah, he does have timing. Yes. Yeah.
Well, he's unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything could happen in New York. A plane could hit.
It's the greatest city in the world. You never know what's going to happen. You can wake up and a plane can fly through your window. Yeah. Yeah.
You could wake up in a bathtub full ice without a kidney. Who knows?
Yeah, right. Yeah, who knows? That's life in the big city.
Please clap.